Hi everyone and welcome back. Mindy here today, and today's video I'm going to be creating a shaker card using some products from My Favorite Things. I'm also going to be doing a little bit of ink blending to add interest to my background. Before I start working on my background, I'm going to stamp this sweet little bird. This is from the Tweethearts stamp set, and I'm just stamping this in the extreme black ink from My Favorite Things onto Neenah Solar White cardstock, and this is 80 pound. Even though this is a really small image to color, I'm still going to color it as my light source coming from the right hand side. So I added my darkest color, the RV17, to the left side of the bird. And then I'm going to blend out with RV14, RV23, and RV21. Now pinks for me tend to bleed really easy, and since I like to color my image twice, you want to be real careful that it doesn't bleed outside of the lines. So then I'll just finish off with YR04 and R24 for the little heart. Then I'll use the coordinating die to die cut out my little bird, and I'm just holding this in place with some post-it note tape, and I'll run that through my die cutting machine. Next, I'm going to take a piece of white cardstock. This is Neenah 110 pound, and this is measuring 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm going to center the Entwined Hearts dynamic to the center of that card, hold that down with post-it tape, and run that through my die cut machine. I just want to create the window, so I'm going to remove this, remove that inner piece, and you can always save that for a future card. I just want the window portion of it for my shaker. The next element I want to create for my card is the backer of what is going to be my shaker element. So this is using a piece of Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I cut this the same size as the window piece that I created. So 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I'm starting off with Wilted Violet Distress Oxide ink, and then I'll come and blend in Peacock feathers. And you can see I'm starting off on the right hand side, working my way up towards the middle of the card, and then I'm going to add that peacock feathers. I like to come in and lay down just a quick layer of ink. This just helps me blend it better, so there's a little bit more of a seamless blend to it. And I'm just going in some circular motions. I'm not worried about if it's leaving any imprints of the sponge. I just want to get that first layer down. So now I'm coming back with that Wilted Violet, and I'm really adding some color to that, going up into the peacock feathers. I really wanted this to be a little bit darker on the bottom, so I'm just adding the more color to it. And then I'll come in with the peacock feathers and just really working that line so that it's really a seamless blend there. And you always kind of want to make sure that you bring in that window card, making sure you can see both colors in that window. And I can, and I just decided it wasn't quite as seamless as I wanted, so blending that over just a little bit more. So this will be behind our shaker window. To add a little bit more interest to that background, I'm taking some Perfect Pearls, scooping a little bit off onto my craft mat. I'm going to spritz some water down, and then with a paintbrush I'll mix those together, and this is going to create a really beautiful pearly mix. And then taking my paintbrush, just flicking that all over the background. I am not going to dab this up. Once I have my background done there, I'll just set it off on the side to dry. So here's a look at the elements for the shaker card. I have the Entwined Hearts Die-namics die cut out of some Gold Shine cardstock. I have my window piece, and then this is my ink blended background. You can see that shine that the Perfect Pearls left on the background there. It's just gorgeous. Next, we're going to start putting together the actual shaker portion of this. So I'm making sure that my backgrounds match up. I'm going to be adding that Gold Shine cardstock to the front there, but I need to add a window. So I'm using a piece of acetate. This is also measuring 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I actually may have trimmed that down just a sliver, so I didn't worry about any overhang. Now I need to attach my acetate to that cover panel. So I'm just adding some adhesive quick all around the back side of that window piece, even on those little ones that stick out where the hearts had cut out. I'll push back any adhesive I may have overhanging there, and then just attach that to the acetate piece. So that'll be our window to hold in our sequins mix. Next, I'll come in and I'm going to add the entwined hearts. You could use a spray adhesive. That might be a safer way to attach this. I used some liquid adhesive, and I did take my finger and kind of dab off any excess so it didn't get onto my acetate. And then using tweezers, I just lined that up on the top of my window piece. Once it dried, I did have a little bit of liquid adhesive kind of push out, but I just took a sand eraser and kind of buffed it off a little bit, and it worked out perfectly. So there's our front card. You could leave it as that. I decided I wanted to make this a shaker at this point. So I took a piece of foam tape. Now this is a really long piece. I cut it in half, and then I removed the backing on it. That's what makes this flexible to go all around that heart entwined shape that is for our cover. So I'll go all the way around there. I'm making sure the two ends meet and then just snipping that. I don't want to leave any opening there because I don't want my sequins to spill out. Then I'll take my leftover piece of foam tape and I'm going to go all around the rest of the card, leaving the middle portion empty. That's where our sequins goes. The reason I'm adding the foam tape around the rest of it is I want my card to be even. That way if I mail this, the mail's not going to make it uneven or bumpy or ruin the card. So I'll just finish attaching any little leftover pieces. Then I'm going to take an anti-static powder tool and I'm just going around all of those edges of the foam tape so that way my sequence moves freely and doesn't get stuck too much to the sides of the shaker card. I thought my sequence would lay flat. I thought I had picked a small enough sequence that it would lay really flat in there. But as I spread it around and I kind of looked at it off on the side, it was a little bit higher than my one layer of foam tape. So I do have to come back in and add another layer of foam tape to this. What I would suggest is taking the foam tape and actually doubling it up right away when you're cutting your strip off of your roll, and then cutting that piece in half. That way it's doubled up right away. You don't have to go through this like I did because it was pretty sticky. I had sequins popping out. I managed to get through it, but just an easier way is to double up your foam tape right away when you're cutting your strip. And that'll just help you save a little hassle in the long run. And I do add the foam tape to the edges too for all the extra pieces. So I have 2 layers of foam tape here, and that'll be enough room for my sequins to shake around. I scooted that sequence to the middle of the card, and I did come back in with my powder tool and dust those edges. And then I can take my ink blended background and attach that to my foam tape. So once I have that pushed down really good, I'll flip it around, looking awesome already, loving that sparkle behind there, giving it a test shake. And now next I need to add a sentiment. So I am actually going to be using a sentiment from the Tweethearts stamp set. I thought this sentiment was super cute and actually worked out good because I'm giving this to my husband for his birthday. So I took a piece of black cardstock. I prepped it with an anti-static powder tool and just moved that powder around with a paintbrush. And then stamping that sentiment down with some Versamark ink, just a clear sticky ink so my embossing powder will stick to this. I'm going to sprinkle on some white embossing powder, tap off that excess, and then I can go ahead and heat that up with my heat tool until it's nice and melted. Now the powder from the anti-static powder tool is pretty easy to see on black cardstock, so I just buffed that off with a Swiffer dust cloth. And then taking the Slanted Sentiment Die-namics, I'm going to die cut out my sentiment strip, and then I'll go ahead and attach this to my card. I'm actually deciding to use just some 1/4 inch score tape. I didn't want to use the liquid glue again, and this just fit perfectly and it's going to have a good stick. So just lining that up, making sure that's straight on the front of my card, and then I can go ahead and add my little Tweetheart. To finish this off, I just took a piece of white cardstock that I had folded in half and added my adhesive and attached my shaker card so I have it attached to the card base right away. Gave it a good shake for a test run, and works fantastic. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, I would really appreciate a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. And be sure to click the little bell so you get notified of any new videos that I post. All of the supplies will be listed down below in the video description and on my blog as well. Thanks again so much for stopping by, and I'll see you next time.